Ever notice how some people walk through life like they're in a constant soap opera, every minor inconvenience a major drama? And then there are those rare few who seem completely unbothered by anything. What's their secret? It's not magic, it's a fundamental misunderstanding you might have about where your emotions come from. Stay tuned, because we're revealing the simple shift that makes you emotionally untouchable and gives you back control. We've all seen them, maybe we've even been them, those human pinballs, bouncing from reaction to reaction, totally at the mercy of everything around them. If the weather's bad, they're miserable. If someone doesn't text back, their self-worth plummets. If a stranger gives them a weird look, they spend hours analyzing it. Let's be honest, we've all been there at some point, right? Letting something completely irrelevant take up way too much space in our heads. Share in the comments if you can relate. So, what separates the reactive from the seemingly untouchable? It's not luck, not some inborn gift, not even Zen monk-level emotional mastery. No, it's one simple thing: they've stopped playing a game that was rigged from the start. See, most people go through life with a massive misunderstanding about where their feelings actually come from. They think the outside world is controlling their emotions, when in reality, it's their own interpretation of the world that's doing all the damage. Let's break that down simply. Someone flips you off in traffic. Two possible reactions. Option A, you take it personally, let it ruin your day, rant about it for hours. Option B, you shrug, assume they have bigger problems, and keep it moving. Same event, two completely different experiences. The only difference? The meaning you gave it. And here's where it gets wild, this applies to literally everything. That harsh comment only affects you if you give it weight. That rejection only stings if you let it define you. That bad day only ruins your week if you replay it on a loop. The truth is, most of what bothers people isn't actually happening to them, it's happening in their mind. They're stuck in a loop of reacting instead of deciding what deserves their energy. Once you truly see this, like actually get it, not just in theory, that's when everything changes. Suddenly, the world stops being something that happens to you and starts being something you get to experience on your own terms. Now, the real question is, how do you actually flip this switch? Because once you do, life will never hit the same way again. So, now you know the secret, it's not what happens, it's how you interpret it. But knowing this and living it are two different things. When life throws something at you that feels personal, disrespect, unfairness, it's easy to forget everything and go back to reacting. How do you actually train your mind to become immune? How do you reach that untouchable state? It starts with one powerful shift: stop giving your energy away for free. Most people hand over their peace of mind like it's a promotional giveaway. Random negative comment online. Let's spend 2 hours mentally arguing. Weird look in public. Time to overanalyze everything. Minor inconvenience. The whole day is ruined. It's like running a business and giving away all your inventory for free. At some point, you have to start charging. You have to ask yourself, does this person's opinion pay my bills? Will I even remember this situation a week from now? Is this problem really mine, or am I just taking on someone else's bad energy? Because 90% of the time, the things that stress people out are nothing more than other people's projections. Someone is rude. That's their problem. Someone doubts you. That's their limited mindset. Someone disrespects you. That says more about them than you. Think about it, when you react, get upset, let something take control, you're basically saying, here, take my peace, I don't need it. But your peace of mind is your most valuable currency. The people who truly win at life, the ones who move through the world unshaken, they've figured out that most things just aren't worth their energy. What's the biggest energy drainer in your life right now? What situation or person consistently steals your peace? Acknowledge it in the comments. Now, here's where it gets interesting. When you stop reacting, stop engaging with negativity, become unshakable, something weird happens. The people who used to trigger you suddenly lose their power. The things that used to ruin your day barely register. The world doesn't feel as heavy because you stopped carrying things that were never yours to begin with. Once you taste that kind of mental freedom, there's no going back. But there's one more piece. There's a way to take this even further, to not just be unaffected, but to actually bend the world in your favor. And that's where things get really fun. Here's the truth, most people don't actually want control over their emotions. They say they do, they say they want inner peace, but when life throws something annoying their way, they take the bait every single time. Boss sends an annoying email. Time to draft a mental resignation. Phone dies at 1%. Obviously, the universe is conspiring against them. It's almost like people enjoy being controlled by their emotions. They'll say, "I just can't help it," or, "That's just the way I am." But here's the real kicker, the moment you stop reacting, you win. Not just personally, but in everything. There's a reason why the most powerful people in any situation, high-stakes negotiation, social interaction, argument, are always the ones who stay calm. The moment you lose control of your emotions, you hand over leverage. If someone knows they can trigger you, they own you. If a situation can get under your skin, it controls you. If your emotions are constantly reacting, the world dictates your reality. Now, imagine the opposite. Imagine becoming someone who simply doesn't bite the bait anymore. Passive-aggressive comment. You don't even flinch. Someone trying to test you. Zero reaction. Unexpected obstacles. You adapt and move on. This isn't about ignoring problems, it's about refusing to let problems own you. When you master this, people start treating you differently. They don't test you as much. They respect your space. And the best part? You start making decisions based on logic and intention, not knee-jerk emotional reactions. Because here's what most don't realize, when you react emotionally, you're operating on autopilot. And the world loves people who are easy to manipulate. Marketing teams prey on your impulses. Toxic people thrive on getting under your skin. Systems of control rely on people who can't detach. When you react, you are predictable, and predictable people are easy to control. But when you stop being easily moved, when you become an observer instead of a reactor, suddenly you gain something 99% of people will never have. True freedom. And it's in that space, where nothing outside dictates your internal state, that you start truly living on your own terms. Now you might be thinking, this sounds great, but how do I actually implement this? That's where things get even more interesting, because the key isn't just knowing it, it's about rewiring your entire response system. So, we've established that reacting emotionally hands over control. But how do you actually train yourself to stop? If detachment was easy, everyone would do it. The truth is, most people don't even realize how conditioned they are to react. From childhood, we're wired to respond instantly. Insult. Defend. Frustration. Vent. It's like living with an open control panel where anyone, your boss, a stranger, a social media post, can push your buttons. But what if you could disable the control panel entirely? This is where emotional immunity comes in. Not ignoring emotions or becoming a robot, but training your brain to break the cycle of automatic reactions. Step 1, observe, don't absorb. Most people absorb situations like a sponge. Stressed person nearby. They become stressed. Rude person. They feel attacked. Instead, become the observer. Let's say the barista snaps at you. The average person absorbs it, why me? I did nothing wrong. Their mood tanks. An observer sees it without absorbing it. Oh, she must be going through something. The event happened, but it didn't enter your system. You let the world move around you, not through you. Step 2, master the pause. Ever notice regrettable decisions are made in the heat of the moment? Emotional reactions bypass logic. The fix? Pause before reacting. Offensive comment? Pause. Anxiety hits? Pause. Urge to argue? Pause. That tiny moment of stillness gives your brain a choice: react automatically or respond intentionally. That choice is where all your power is. Pro trick: before responding, mentally ask, is this worth my energy? 99% of the time, it's not. Step 3, starve the drama. Drama feeds off reactions. Gossip spreads when people engage. Toxic people stay when they get a reaction. Arguments escalate when both sides participate. When you stop feeding the system, it collapses. Imagine someone tries to pick a fight, and instead of reacting, you just smile and move on. They're left powerless. People who try to provoke aren't looking for truth, they're looking for control. Give them nothing, and they lose that control. That's why the most dangerous person in any interaction is the one who doesn't take the bait. Which of these steps feels most challenging, or most needed, for you right now? Share your thoughts in the comments. Once you start doing this, people will respect you more. They won't test you as often. Even those who do will quickly learn you're not the one. Because once you master emotional immunity, you become untouchable. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but what about situations where emotions are too strong, where detaching feels impossible? That's a valid concern, and it's where most people get stuck. If you've spent your life reacting, changing overnight isn't realistic. But here's the key: it's not about suppressing emotions, it's about reprogramming the way you process them. Step 1, train your mind like a muscle. People treat emotions like wild animals, uncontrollable. But emotions, like muscles, can be trained. Some people stay calm under extreme pressure, others break down over minor inconveniences. It's not innate ability, it's trained response. Your brain has default pathways based on past experiences. If stress has always equaled panic, it will continue. If criticism has always equaled defensiveness, that reaction happens automatically. The trick? Interrupt the pattern. Every time you're about to react emotionally, stop. Ask, what if I respond the opposite way this time? Irritated? Try smiling. Urge to defend? Stay silent. Panic? Breathe and observe. Your brain will fight you initially. But keep overriding the impulse, and eventually, your brain will rewire. One day, situations that used to trigger you won't anymore. The old response just isn't there. That's when you know you're winning. Step 2, control the narrative in your head. Your inner dialogue determines how you feel. Next time something affects you, ask, what's the story I'm telling myself about this? Is this interpretation actually useful? 90% of the time, it's not. Step 3, emotionally disarm people, emotional Aikido. Here's a life-changing trick: when people expect a reaction and you give them nothing, it completely throws them off. Ever seen someone insulted, and instead of getting angry, they just laugh and agree? You're so stubborn. Yeah, it's one of my best traits. You never take anything seriously. I try not to. You really don't care, do you? Nope. That's emotional Aikido, taking negative energy and flipping it. When you refuse to be affected, you send a clear message: you don't have control over me. Nothing frustrates provocateurs more. And guess what? The less reactive you become, the more respected you'll be. People test you to see how much control they have. When they realize you're untouchable, they back off. At the end of the day, being unshakable isn't about never feeling emotions, it's about not letting them control you. It's about making a choice: do I let this situation define me, or do I define the situation? Because once you stop reacting to things that don't deserve your energy, you start living life on your terms. And that's when everything really changes. So, if this resonated with you, hit that like button. If you made it this far, you definitely got something out of it. And if you want more content on mastering your mind and taking back control, subscribe, because this is just the beginning. What's the biggest takeaway for you from this video? Share it in the comments. See you in the next one.